So now that you've got an idea how the final works, let's talk about how a typical week or sometimes 2 weeks will flow. And I mentioned 1 week versus 2 weeks because most of the time you'll have one project per week. On some of the bigger projects, we're going to stretch it out and take 2 weeks so that you don't feel completely overloaded. The first thing I want you to understand is that you always start in the Canvas module for the week. There are two reasons for this. Number one, there are things that I'm going to put in the module that may not be anywhere else. Number two, the module will walk you through everything step by step. You've heard me say this before and you're going to hear me say it again. Do not use the to-do list on your home page of Canvas. And just so there's no confusion about what I mean by that, it's this section right over here. Do not use these. Why? First, because they're not in order. You may end up doing things out of order, which means you haven't learned what you need to learn before you start using it. The second point is to remember that there are things in the modules that are not going to show up over here. When you start, come over here to the modules and we'll work our way down the list. Okay, hopefully I've lectured on that enough. Let's talk about how the actual projects work. And for the most part, there's going to be one project per week. Some of them will stretch into 2 weeks if there's a lot going on in the project. For each project, you're going to watch all the videos in BA Collegiate about that topic, and you're going to take notes. This is where you learn the information that's in this project. Think of this as the reading you would normally do in a textbook. Unless you've got a great memory, I would suggest taking notes as you do this, just as you would when you read a chapter. I'll talk about it in a little bit, but there are printable transcripts of what's said in every lesson, and a lot of students use those to make notes on as they watch the videos. After you watch the videos, you're going to practice what you've learned, and this is the part that's going to be graded, so don't just coast through this practice part. In Canvas, each week for the project, you'll find a set of assignments for you to complete after you watch the videos. These assignments are where you get your hands on and where you actually use QuickBooks Online. The first few projects that you work through are going to be setting up a new company file and getting it ready for you to use. After that, you'll be going in and recording transactions and activity for a fictional company into that QuickBooks file that you created. Now, as you work through the assignments, you're going to be saving some reports electronically, and you'll also be making some notes about what you're seeing. When you finish the assignments, you'll go back to Canvas and answer some questions about those reports and the notes that you took. You'll also upload all those saved reports so that I can review them. As you complete each assignment, you'll be able to see whether your answers are correct or not, and then Canvas will unlock the actual correct answers after the due date. So far in the project, you've watched the videos, you've worked through an assignment, answered some questions about it, and uploaded your reports. The next thing you'll do for each project is there'll be a quiz on the project, on the materials that you've learned. Now, while the assignment is about checking your specific answers to work you've done, the quiz is about understanding the processes and the systems and how QuickBooks in general works. After you've watched the videos, you've done the assignment, you've taken the quiz, there'll be a couple things left in Canvas each week for you to wrap up. There'll be something to do with a discussion question, maybe some other things like that. And those discussion questions, they aren't deep research questions. They're designed more to let us know how you're feeling, what you're struggling with, what you're understanding, and to help each other with that. Because you may stumble on figuring out how to do things that other students may still have questions about or be struggling with. So that's why we're interacting in these discussion questions. And that explains how each project or each week the course flows. I hope that all makes sense, but I promise you it will make more sense as we roll through the first couple of modules. You'll get the hang of it and the flow of it. And as always, if you don't feel comfortable with it, just reach out. That's about all I've got right now. I'll see you in the next video.